through the episode.
Oh, well, no. Okay. Let's just save it. Let's get it. Let's get this. What's up, Hiroshi? Let's light this candle, as they say.
All right. Well, here we are. Welcome to the stream, everybody.
Are we on?
We are. After some technical difficulties, we've managed to claw our way onto the stream.
Yeah. Mostly coming from my end. Oh, I see you're having some water as well. My water's red.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, drinking the red water is Magic Phil Mosnes, creative jack of all trades, filmmaker, artist, storyboard guy. I don't know. Yeah, see, look at that, and magician. And perhaps you know me from my head, which appears on many of the thumbnails and whatnots.
Your floating head.
I am Brian here at the editorial offices of the Everything is Mid editorial offices. And cheers, welcome to the show. I'm actually going to get fancy this time, because, well, you know, we really appreciate that you have arrived, whoever you are,
whoever's out there.
Yeah, whoever's out there. I know
whether
a lot of the people
now or later.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people watch this on the later, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. So I have upped my little game. So we're going to go from the welcome here to this is our episode for tonight.
Episode 4, is it?
There we go.
All right.
Episode 4, Observation.
We are observing. Now, the title of this episode is Observation.
So so I just want to start by doing a quick rundown on the plot, and then we will discuss the unsettling relationships. There's a few different relationship dynamics going on with the characters,
right?
All of which are unsettling. And then pressing X for doubt. That's where I want to just sort of discuss the reality disconnect that this show seems to keep living in that drives me crazy.
Okay.
So what they giveth with one plot point, they taketh away with the other one, just like that. So we'll discuss that, and then we'll just do a little cleanup at the end there, and if there's any other thoughts we want to get into.
Sure.
But for the plot, observation, Phil.
I would say that so the plot, and let's talk location just for a second. We are almost exclusively in one location for this episode. We are at the compound on the Neverland Island. We do have cutaways to not Yaphet Kotto speaking with his last name is Singh, and they made a point of that, but he I don't remember what they call his actual character.
I don't know who that lost boy is.
So in this one, we pick up where we last left off. Our lead, Wendy / Marcy, is that her other name?
That is correct.
Our lead, Wendy Marcy, has woken up from her coma type situation. Her I don't know exactly what you. She's sort of, in a sense, as a synth body. I almost think of it almost like she shut down. They turned her off and on again. I don't know.
Exactly. She had a reboot or whatever. She had her freak out at the end of last episode. Ended up on the lab floor, and so now she's been. She's coming back online in the lab.
They brought her back, and in attempting to reestablish her hearing, they discovered that she had a connection with the entities, the xenomorphs, that she could hear them, and through some trial and error that went surprisingly fast, she's able to make some noises and do some audible communication. At least
she uses her head as a speaker and plays the sound so everyone else can hear.
Yes.
We'll get into that. Moving right along. Then the other subplot. It seems like there's 3. So that you're right. That's the main one.
The main one. We have a couple of the other Lost Boy characters. One of which does still have, again, communication. It's all about the episode's called Observing, but it almost could be called the auditory connections, or it's a mouthful, something of it. But it seems like a lot of it has to do with sound in this episode. And in this case, one of our other Lost Boys is in communication with the captain of the Not Nostromo, whose whereabouts are at various points ambiguous, but then later kind of gets
a little more,
A little more
pinpointed. And
cool.
that's Morrow. He's the
Morrow.
cyborg, the cyborg,
Cyborg, yes.
and he's been communicating with Slightly. I've got my little cheat sheet of IMDb up here so we can keep track of these characters.
Slightly is his name?
Slightly, yes.
Okay. That's his
I'm
Lost
assuming
Boy
these are
name.
all names of Lost Boys
Lost
from
Boys,
Peter
yes.
Pan.
I guess I'll take your word for it. Most of them seem to be, so yeah.
Or you can take Boy Cavalier's word for it because he'll spell it right out for you.
What talk about on the nose, like just hammering over and over again in case you weren't, if you forgot that there's a Peter Pan connection. He's literally reading from the story.
Literally reading and then literally talking to people saying, "Oh, you're this character, you're this." But yeah,
Yes.
anyway, so there's that. So yeah, we've got Morrow talking to Slightly,
Yes.
and he's trying to manipulate him into bringing him an egg, one of
Bringing
the
him an
alien
egg.
eggs.
Yes.
And when that doesn't work out because Slightly is basically too scared to do it,
Yes.
we then discover that Morrow he's figured out, he's gotten Slightly to tell him who he was as a child.
Yes.
Before he was this hybrid.
Yes.
And he's now gone to Slightly's mother
house,
and
yes.
mother's house where his brothers also live, and he's threatening to harm them if Slightly does not get with the program.
Sure.
But he's also now given him this new option. You don't have to bring me an egg, you just need to bring somebody to the eggs and then bring that person to me.
Yes, which sounds a little more complicated in some ways.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be easier to get an egg out than it would be to get a person in and go through this process. But okay, we understand why it has to happen for the.
Yeah, I mean, if the egg could pop little legs out, to kind of walk around, it might be easier to get it out.
Sure.
But yeah, this is going to be much more complicated.
Much more complicated. And kind of see where at least where the series would like us to believe it's going.
Right.
And I'll believe them for now.
And then the other subplot is
not Veronica Cartwright's character, not Lambert,
right?
Who believes that she's pregnant, and has a long talk with the mom from Babadook.
Yes, Nibs.
Nibs,
the ginger lost boy. Nibs has decided that she's pregnant, and she has a conversation with the
mother character.
With the mother character.
And
Dame Sylvia,
who is, and we do get to see, and they kind of held back on this to some degree, that they, because of their superhuman abilities, are a threat, are a physical threat, and Nibs does express that threatening quality.
Things get a little uncomfortable for Nibs, and then she makes things a little physically uncomfortable.
Yes,
demonstrating her speed and strength.
And now, was I crazy in not realizing, and they probably did establish this, but I'd kind of forgotten in the few weeks since this show began, that Dame Sylvia was married to that other scientist.
Yes,
that threw me. I don't know. I don't remember them making that clear early, and they may have, and I just forgot. And when I look at the two of them, I would not have thought husband and wife.
Yeah.
So did you remember that they had mentioned any of that?
When they said it, I'm like, oh, that's right, they're married.
Okay, I didn't remember that. So kudos to you for having at least picked up on that, because it was in one ear, not the other. Because not that it needs to be reestablished, it's not a major point up until now. But since they're husband and wife, they, again, another tension in relationships. They do establish that the male scientist, the husband, is having some issues, apprehension about the way things are going and the way that the kids are being treated and what they're there for. And he thought they were there to deal with the synth situation, with taking children's consciousnesses, consciousness. I don't know what's the plural. Taking their yes, I'm putting them into synth bodies. That the implications of that are already there, but now it seems like the Boy Cavalier is shifting gears so heavily into the alien technology that seems like it's where its focus is, and that the scientists feel, at least our lead scientist, our male scientist, is having some real problems with that, and is
Yeah.
expressing that with his wife, who probably does feel the same way, but is not quite ready to have a coup or whatever he's
Right.
like. And let me think, are there any other threads happening? Oh,
I think the only okay, there's two minor threads. One we've already talked
brother.
about, so let's flesh that out. Is that Slightly
Mhm.
um is upset because the brother, that's the other thread.
The brother is
Wendy's brother, the medic.
he's sort of a guest, but he's also been basically said he's been told by the bald henchman, who I believe was the same. He looks like a guy that would have been in Eyes Wide Shut, following Tom Cruise around to be generally threatening. Maybe
Totally.
slightly too old to be like a bruiser, but he probably was 15
Mhm.
years ago. Anyway, he basically establishes that they own the sister. The sister and the other kids, as well, are properties of Prodigy, and that the brother, if he chooses to quit, he can just get the boot and get the bill for his lung.
Yeah. And never see his sister
Never see
again.
the sister, if it even. And that whole scene starts with the heavy
Yes.
asking him if he feels like that even is his sister, and kind of I don't.
Yeah, there is some interest with from the Prodigy side to establish what you're the brother. What do you think of her? Is this her? Is it not her? Like they want to get feedback from him as he observes her, to get a better sense of what's going on.
For sure.
Because she is a product, and she's a prototype for this immortality that they will want to be selling people when they can put their brains into these bodies.
And was there another thread, or do we just go on to
there's the one lost boy who Toodles,
Yes.
who decides he wants to change his name to Isaac after Sir Isaac Newton.
Yes.
And really, so he's part of the thread of Kirsch, who's Timothy Oliphant, the synth,
right,
in the lab as they're observing the eyeball alien go into a goat, presumably killed the goat, took over the goat, and is now watching them, and they can ascertain that it is intelligent based on the brain waves.
Yes, fairly effective scene, and the only real bit of horror I mean, there was tension throughout the episode. There was character tension. This was the only bit of actual like horror in the alien sense.
Yeah.
And then by the end, I believe we have our lead is hearing some sounds, goes to visit the lung of her brother's lung, as one would, and the alien. It's not an embryo at this point, but it's in its larval stage.
She refers to it as the baby.
The baby bursts out. I mean, by the way, we're clearly spoiling everything in this episode. If anybody's listening or watching, it should have been established probably early on that we're not going to hold back.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would bother to watch this if they weren't watching the show.
No kidding.
But hey, if you are watching this and you're not watching the show, glad to have you.
Yeah. Thank you for
glad
being
to have
here.
I'm not complaining.
I'm sorry we're ruining your any surprises.
I just want to say, hey, welcome. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, we love having you here. So the alien bursts through it's the lung,
burst out of the lung, out of the containment thing that it's cylinder. In the tank,
and she's able to somewhat establish a connection with it through her sounds. And what now we did establish in this that that the aliens would not have any interest in the synths, because they would recognize pretty quickly that they're more mechanics than human and would not be good hosts. That was established from not Yaphet Kotto having his back and forth with Singh, who is going to potentially bring in a host under duress, under coercion, to bring in a host for a face hugger, and that it wouldn't harm him because he's a synth. The aliens can smell it. They probably know pretty quickly what they're not going to go after. An
inorganic material.
Sure, which is kind of interesting. I mean, there are some implications in what they're establishing in the universe about whether or not these, like, would it go after a hybrid? I mean, these are hybrids, so not Yaphet Kotto doesn't think that they'd be interested in hybrids. The alien baby that did burst out did not seem to be interested in harming our lead, Wendy. So they must sense in there.
Yeah, and in Morrow, he seems to understand this, because when he's telling the one guy, when he's telling Slightly to go get to bring the person, he said, "Don't worry, the egg's not going to be interested in you."
Right. Which
and that was established in the second the last episode, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, when or maybe it was the second episode. I don't know. When Kirsch is in the ship and he's at the eggs and he's rescuing the Slightly and
yeah, they didn't seem interested. They didn't they opened, but then they didn't seem.
Yeah, they don't open for the synths, but when the cyborg is standing next to it, it detects that he's part human, and so it opens up for him. So that's basically the plot. And did you establish that that Slightly? It's pretty clear that Slightly is intending to bring the brother in and use him as the host for the alien.
You know, I hadn't really thought about it that far. I think I wasn't trying to jump too far ahead, other than I do believe the show is going to do its best to bring in a host. I didn't think about who it would be yet.
I felt like they were kind of in the very tail end when they were just sort of doing their wrap up of different shots of everybody. They Slightly is there sort of, looking into the windows and watching the brother. And so I get the sense that that's.
I was probably trying to set the camera up at that point.
Probably, maybe. And then you heard the smash of the alien escaping the tank, and you're like, okay, better see what's going on.
Better look back. No, that makes sense. But how many choices do we have? We've only really established it could either be a no-name person, which that does not make sense that they would do that with a non. There are other people walking around. I mean,
yeah, but they also established that that Slightly doesn't like the brother. He's angry that the brother gets to be there when he has brothers that are being threatened by that, annoying Morrow guy.
Sure.
So yeah, there's going to be a bit of a.
We only have basically three choices, right? We've got Boy Cavalier, Dame Sylvia, and the brother.
Sylvia's husband.
The husband. That's the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I don't think we have anybody
right? And the brother, yeah.
And the brother. So we've got four choices, and of those,
also the bald guy, Baldy.
Oh, Baldy, yeah. That's. Do you think they're gonna? Okay, but that's. I can imagine Slightly talking in 2 out of 3 of those, maybe even 3 out of 3. But I don't think the heavy is gonna fall for. Hey, come in here. There's something I want to show you.
No. I think it was really clear that the plan is the brother.
Okay,
but I'm just talking with you to lay out like what other potential people could get ruined before the series is over.
Well, the thing is are we prepared? Are we prepared to of any of the characters that could potentially be removed from the show through death? Which ones do we even have that are potentials? If it's the brother and he gets face hugged, he's got like 2 days before they could do much about, and maybe they're going to set that up, and maybe the sister can do something about it. Maybe that's the plan.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to die, I don't know that they're going to kill the brother off. They could kill off the other scientist.
I feel like they've got to string the brother out for a while, so
he needs some reason to be there. Other than
and this episode they also were doing like the world is conspiring against the brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
They they are not. You've got Boy Cavalier who's trying to get into the Wendy's head and convince her, because he doesn't really want the brother around.
Mind focus.
No, enough for me to be horrified.
It might be better if I go back to the old camera.
Yeah, so boy doesn't really like the brother being around.
Yeah.
And Toodles, or no,
Toodles.
Slightly. Yeah, I know. There's a Toodles.
These names are silly.
Well, now he's Isaac, but Slightly doesn't want the brother around.
This show has more names than a Renaissance fair where everybody's got like, oh, my name. Here's my name. Here's my nickname. Here's 3 characters I play at the fair.
Yeah.
It's too much to keep track of. Let's just establish everybody, and they should give them. They didn't want to probably do numbers, because then it starts to feel like the Stranger Things. So we're 11.
Yeah.
Speaking of lab kids, it's a trend in the 2020s. Should we unsettling relationships? You would say that almost every relationship in this is unsettling, or at least there's tension.
Yeah, and that's when I was looking over my notes and trying to decide how to categorize this stuff.
Yes,
I realized initially this was the unsettling relationship between Wendy and the aliens, and then I realized actually all the subplot. Then I realized that you've got Morrow and Slightly. That is an unsettling relationship.
Yes.
And then you've got then you had the Dame Sylvia with Nibs. That was an unsettling relationship. That was all uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Because Nibs, let's just go ahead and start there, because you mentioned this earlier. So Nibs has decided that she is pregnant.
Yeah.
And her quote unquote parent figures in the show, the Dame Sylvia and her husband.
Yes.
Beta Doc. I don't know. He's see, in an earlier episode, we established that he had a low sperm count.
Oh,
and that's why he and Dame Sylvia have not had kids.
He's been literally castrated.
He's literally So he's literally Beta Doc. So
was there a character in Peter Pan that was also had a low sperm count that somehow ties into this?
Yes, it was Milky. I don't know. It was something. So yeah, anyway, they're kind of shocked that that she's made this declaration.
No,
so
but that
Dame
means
Sylvia decide. Oh yeah,
I was just gonna say, as far as establishing things, and then maybe we've already said this. Be that as it may, these are their adopted children.
Right.
So because they have none of their own biological, they are going to treat these to some degree as, and I can appreciate that as a character point to make that a thing. They could have not bothered to mention that at all, but I'm glad that they did, because now we can see why they might have these paternal instincts with these characters, and why Dame Sylvia has that scene with her and Nibs was pretty strong, I thought, because there is a lot of tension there, because I feel like they've danced around it for a few of the episodes, that these are still children with superhuman.
Yeah.
And that didn't come up a ton in the first 3 episodes, and when they were going through the crisis of a crashed spaceship and whatnot, that they acted out in ways that they didn't have like kid tantrums that led to destruction.
No, it really all we saw was them just sort of being immature in the way they were assessing the situation.
Yeah, and that might be a critique after the fact, which is maybe not so fair to the show, but it did make me think about it. That we didn't have a ton of things where they were really, really exploring what they could and couldn't do. I know that's been something of a critique we had in the early episodes, as far as not establishing what their abilities were. But not only that, we didn't establish what their relationship was with their own abilities, as far as these are 12-year-old kids, and all of a sudden they're given adult bodies with superhuman powers. They weren't going nuts with that. They played that so so under the like just not even an undercurrent. It just didn't even come up most of the time.
Yeah, it wasn't under the radar. It was completely off the
It was
radar.
off the radar.
And the radar was unplugged and thrown out the window.
It
That's how
was
far away it was
old
from the radar.
technology. Get rid of it. Send it to the recycle bin.
Yeah,
So
actually, we could go ahead and add that to the unsettling relationships. It's the unsettling relationship that these kids have with their new bodies, like whatever this whole thing is.
yeah,
Like
no,
that
they
title.
are kind of they are getting into it now. So I guess better late than never.
Yeah,
But they and that between Dame Sylvia and Nibs, that whole thing, whether she's asking her like, "What is it? What's going on here?" You know, we haven't really talked about this body that you have now and what that means and what you know. And she sort of says, "Okay, yeah, look, I grew up on a farm. I know how this stuff works." But she knows it as an abstract. She hasn't quite internalized it, or if she is, it's coming out in ways of her believing that she's gonna have a baby.
yeah, and that this and all of the Lost Boys,
Mhm.
they spend a little time dealing with who they are in
Yeah.
this episode and what they think of it. And in her case, it's like she's decided that she's an adult woman and therefore she has decided that she's going to be pregnant.
Yeah.
But the whole thrust of that scene in the relationship is that it's kind of scary because, well, no, you're out of touch with reality. And as Dame Sylvia is trying to steer her towards reality, she wants to show her the book that's like,
Yeah.
no, this has got pictures of what your body actually is. And Nibs not only does not want to see it, she
Violently
violently
resisted.
kicks the book.
Yes.
And then when Dame Sylvia doesn't drop it,
Yeah.
then she just leaps across the room and grabs her by the throat and is like right in her face. And
Yeah.
so it just basically went completely psycho.
I like the scene a lot, and well, when we get into what we actually thought of the episode, I'll go into more detail about what I did and didn't like about this.
Well, I think we could talk about that now, even though we're talking about the
Unsettling
the
relationships.
unsettling relationships. I think that we can
Well,
talk about the episode in context of that.
well, then let me just say, I actually think I like this episode, even though one could say it was the slowest of the four that we've seen,
And the least alien-y.
at least alien-y, and maybe because of that, this is my favorite episode thus far. I like this one the most because I think it gave us a little bit of breathing room to get back into character, which is what tends to make series work. The engine that drives series as opposed to feature films would be being able to spend time with characters and work out longer arcs and
Yeah.
more subtle ups and downs than you can do in a 2-hour movie.
And I feel, I think I agree with you. It's just that this one has a little bit more meat because they're finally exploring some of this stuff. It's kind of shocking that we have to wait till episode 4.
It does make me
Some
wish
of the things that they bring up, it's like, oh, now you're going to talk about?
It's like,
Thank goodness. But like, where have you been, huh? This party started a long time ago.
Well, but it does remind me. It does harken back. Like the things I liked the most about the first episode were all on that island, starting to get to know a lot of these things that they're now kind of continuing with 3 episodes later. So for that, so far, if this were just a straight sci-fi series, like if you just showed it to me and it had nothing to do with Alien, I would be enjoying some of the existential questions that they're asking about. Is this your sister? Is this that kind of thing?
Yeah, agreed.
It's not
it's
new,
also but these questions should have been raised episode 1,
of
and they
course.
should have been exploring the whole. I mean, it's just crazy that
they were Brian. They were too busy throwing these kids that may or may not have the actual consciousness or souls of the human bodies that they came from into a crisis.
Yeah, to be search and rescue.
Search and rescue with no
Hey,
training.
kids, grab your paper cutter blades and head into the building.
So I guess better late than never. I don't know, but I'm trying to give credit where credit's due. That like this one so far, I probably enjoyed this episode as just as a show more than any of the 3 the previous 3.
Well, and then again, you go to the Morrow and Slightly subplot,
Yeah,
and Morrow is one of the first characters to stand out in the series because
sure.
he very strongly wants something. And
Yes,
so as a character, you go, okay, I
he's got the
understand
most
what this
drive,
guy's about.
right?
And then as he's interacting with the people, you get to sort of know more about him and why he's so focused on this stuff. But then you get to better understand how dangerous he really is. So I mean, all of that stuff's good.
Yeah,
Except then I can't stand that that Slightly as a character doesn't feel like he exists outside of being a character that Morrow can manipulate. I mean, we got a little bit more about him because we know he's got a mother and brothers and this kind of
we
stuff.
do.
But
Yes,
I just kind of feel like all of the Lost Boys, they're so
they're wishy-washy.
they're just so wishy-washy, and
Yeah.
up until this point, just very meandering.
By the way, I don't remember how many there are
There's
because
actually not I counted it,
is
and
it
I don't
five?
remember now. I want to say there's only 4, but for some
Four.
reason I thought there was like 6 to 8.
You would think, but okay. So we, God, this is where you realize like my comprehension on the show is like the absolute.
All right,
It's
okay.
we have Wendy,
Oh yeah. Okay.
Slightly.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't
Uh,
counting Wendy, but so
okay,
so Slightly.
Nibs. That's the
Nibs.
not Lambert character.
Yeah, that's the not Lambert, the ginger.
The guy who's now Isaac,
That's Toodles, who's now Isaac.
and the black guy.
That is Toodles, who's now Isaac. Oh no, Smee.
The other black guy.
Right, Smee.
Yeah. Oh, so
And then
Smee is the guy. So
and actually no, there is one more, so there
there's
is
one more.
5.
Who is that?
It's Curly, and that's
Curly.
the other girl, the girl who wants to be Boy Cavalier's
Yes.
favorite.
Okay. Now she's interesting, and they did give her in the previous episode uh, a little bit more meat because of her desire, her ambition to be
Yes,
the number
ambition.
one.
That's a good word.
Okay, so at least she's given something, but some of the other folks are getting lost in a shuffle in this because and I'm not saying they have too many characters in play, but so far in the
I'm
series,
gonna go ahead and say it. They've got too many characters in play.
maybe they do. It's funny because I feel like in a series like this, there's room, and as I work through my understanding of story, it's an ongoing thing. It's a lifetime
It is
goal.
actually.
Um, and I'll get it just before I die,
Yeah,
before I write
that's what it
anything.
all comes together. There's that.
Oh, and then beep, flatline.
Well, I understand. First, you see your life flash before your eyes, and the very end of your life is the memory that happens right then, where you suddenly understand story completely.
Wow. That would be incredible and sad, and it's so bittersweet. I'm sure it's probably exactly what happens as you
Probably.
go
I'm
towards the
looking forward
light.
to it.
I can't wait. we might be not too far
Might
off
be
there.
sooner rather than later. And then when it happens, there'll be this very brief moment where you hate so many movies and stories more than you ever did now that you understand what story is. And then
Right.
you realize like how awful they missed the mark. Then that's
Brian, you're a pessimist. For me, it would be the glasses half full. I would love so many more that I didn't quite get
because you have a
before.
greater
I have a
appreciation
greater
for what they
appreciation.
were.
It doesn't have to be either. It could be both.
Yeah.
So what I like, and this is kind of just a general thing. It has nothing to do with Alien Earth. That why
Well,
features
then
versus
you're on the right podcast. By
You
all
thought
means,
you-
talk about everything other than Alien.
we just dance around it, just like so what's great about series is that you have time, as I might have mentioned before, you have time to spend time with these characters. You get to know the characters and their long arcs, and you can have more of them, and you can follow them along their trajectories. And you've got A, B, and C plots in general, and sometimes D's and whatever. And you have more time to spend making those points, getting from point A to point B on all those threads. And in features, you don't tend to have as much time to establish, that many threads and that many characters. So
Right.
you'd think that in Alien Earth, having
8
what did we
hours.
just say? 8 hours, or is it an 8 episode season? Do we know that? 8 or
Well, yeah,
10?
there's 8 in the season.
Wow, that means we're halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, so this is like hump day for.
Apparently.
But even with 8 hours, maybe that many Lost Boys is a problem because so many would fall by the wayside. So far, Isaac has had very little to do other than choose his name.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the other guy, Smee,
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Did we even see him in this episode? He might have been in that scene where they're all kind of chit chatting fairly
Yeah,
early on.
playtime when they had
Playtime.
the play date.
So one could assume that he'll play a larger role later, but we don't know. It's hard. The show itself doesn't inspire tons of confidence in that, even though this episode for me was at least a step in a direction that for my personal taste, I'm okay with. Just because I didn't find myself just hating, like, oh my god, did they really do that? They really did the thing where the elevators not work, that kind of crap.
Yeah. Well, they had, yeah. Well, but they had their own version of that. Like the one thing that was so stupid. And I'm trying to hold this off. All of my "this was so stupid" talk for the Press X for Doubt, but I will say that they go into the lab, and Wendy is coming back online.
Yeah.
And the brother like comes in. Again, I'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
But it's just that Boy Cavalier shows up with Curly, the other girl with ambition, who wants to be the favorite.
Yes.
And he tells her, like, oh, here, just push buttons and do whatever. And then he goes in to talk to them. And then she's like literally over there, like, oh, what do I do? Maybe and they like get a gag out of her, like, oh, like turning off stuff. And I'm just like, no, this is not funny. This doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Why would you bring her into the lab if you have nothing for her to do? Once she's there, why would you instruct her to just touch things? It's just
well,
dumb. But anyway, that's for the next section. If you,
okay.
I brought it into play, so if you want to respond, by all means.
If only because she needed to be there to reinforce the relationship tension.
Yes.
That she wants to be number one.
Right. And I appreciated that they did that. They did have a beat in there where
it's like
the rivalry.
You can speak French, but can you speak alien was basically.
Yeah. And that was a nice line. I thought that was good. And part of the thing that makes it good is that it was reinforcing the relationship and reinforcing what the character is doing and going through.
For sure. Other than that, Curly had virtually nothing for the rest of this episode.
Correct.
But that's fine. We
don't need to service everybody every episode.
No, it's just that like along the ways we're losing some threads, if only because you could almost imagine them going a couple episodes without even mentioning the other Lost Boy characters, and then having them come back later because there's not much going on for them to do, because that's a lot of plotting. It's a lot of plotting to have 6 characters each have their own arc, along with 5 or 6 other characters.
Right, along with the doctor and the
doctor,
the beta husband, and then the Boy Cavalier and Morrow and Timothy
by the way,
Kirsch.
There might be an alien in the show too.
There might it might even do. Yeah,
sooner or later.
Because maybe we'll get more of a character out of the alien because she is communicating. When maybe we're going to find out that one of the aliens, that all they really want is to direct. Like they've got like their own.
They want their own.
They've got their own dreams, so maybe we'll be following them as well.
I want to dance.
Yeah. Well, they got that whole. They're like when they jump out and that.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my.
Yeah. I've been using the clip from the original Alien where when it gets Dallas, and it's really just this like 2-second or a second and a half. Yeah, and it's just a booga booga.
The alien jazz hands.
Yeah, alien jazz hands. That's what it is.
Yeah, no.
So, but I digress.
Such a goddamn good movie, though. Okay, I have to get a new Blu-ray because I went to go watch it and I got skippage on my Blu-ray for Alien.
Oh, aye.
My friend Ben has an extra Blu-ray that came with his 4K version of it, which I'm not that, you know, I'm just a simple man. 1080 is about where I peter out. I don't have this 4K stuff.
Right.
He's offered to give me his Blu-ray. I so long to just when I watch a show like this, I think WWRSD. What would Ridley Scott do? And I was going to have that put on a bracelet to, anytime I have any ideas about anything aesthetic in filmmaking, what would Ridley Scott do? Um, it, Ridley Scott, by the way, is an executive producer on the show. I did not realize that until I watched the credits tonight.
I think the question you should be asking though is what would Scott
Would he have done? Yes,
because what he's doing these days, I don't know that that's your guiding star.
I should put a caveat on that with like, what would he do pre 1990? And even then, it's kind of hit and miss. But
yeah,
when I think about the world that they've established, I have there's a struggle within me, Brian. One is this the Earth that you would have expected from the world of Alien? And if not, why not? If so, why so? When I'm on the Nostromo and they're in this industrial ship and they're thinking they're getting close to Earth, in my mind, I don't know what Earth looks like, but it doesn't look nearly as lush as we have established in this world, which is quite pleasant. I mean, even the cities look clean.
Yeah.
It seems more Star Trek-y than Alien to me.
Yeah, I give you that.
But is that a problem? Like, okay, the characters in the original Alien were supposed to be truck drivers in space.
Yeah,
all right. Well, there are truck drivers on Earth now in very fancy new cities. There's a truck driver in Singapore that has kind of a greasy truck that's got to get from point A to point B to deliver whatever it's delivering.
And they're not living in Beverly Hills.
Not living in So why, is there any reason to think that the Earth of Alien wouldn't be lush? Like, why can't it look nice like this one? But it does surprise me, I guess, is what I'm thinking. So I don't know. Does that rub you right, wrong, or indifferently?
No, I mean, it's a good. Just watch it because I've been watching Romulus. Because I'm getting ready to drop a review on that. Yeah. And again, going back and looking at Alien for clips and things, the aesthetic, even though they do a good job in Romulus and they do a good job in this for sort of capturing certain elements of the aesthetic.
Yes.
But man, nothing is the same as that original movie. When you go there, just even the aliens just feel so real. Like it just everything seems so tactile and like actually biological, and it really feels like you're in this other world where there's this actual creature. Whereas in this other stuff, everything just feels kind of sci-fi. The alien looks good, but it's just it feels sci-fi. It doesn't feel like that. And so this more pleasant Earth, I guess, fits fine in this sci-fi world. But
it makes me think it's a different show, but and not in a bad way. Like again, if you took Alien out of this, I would think you'd have a reasonably good sci-fi show about synthetic.
Well, you could, and I've heard somebody else say that it wants to be a Blade Runner show.
Yes.
That Ridley Scott, I guess, is on record as saying that he wishes, or that he could imagine that these two are in the same universe. That Alien and Blade Runner in the same universe, and I get the feeling that you could see how he's trying to sort of do his own version of that with the stuff they're doing. But
for sure,
go ahead.
I would, and I've heard that for many years, and even as a casual, well, actually fairly obsessed viewer of both Alien and Blade Runner,
a casually obsessed viewer,
obsessively casual. Oh, I'm so casual about watching this. They did always seem like they could, because part of it is that it's Ridley Scott in that era, for sure, has established a look. He's got an eye for the mise en scène and the design sense, and that's a lot of it stemming from him as a designer. So they always felt like they were in the same world because they came from the same filmmaker.
Yeah.
But if you were to take that away, maybe less so, because the aesthetics might have been shifted if somebody else made either of those other films. It's believable, but then when you watch a show like this, it's like, well, now this doesn't feel anything like the world of Blade Runner, where those cities just seem like just what they are.
Right.
They're
Well, we also know that
filthy
there's all we've been seeing is the prodigy, and it was explained in this episode that there's the 5
yes.
megacorps that run everything, and so maybe some of those others are a little more industrial and awful.
And that's perfectly, yeah. But then when we do get shots of other places, they're close but not quite there. So when we have not Yaphet Kotto,
Who's close but not quite
not quite there,
Yaphet
not
Kotto.
quite Yaphet Kotto. He's in an Asian tea house. It looks like at some point during his communication with saying
Slightly.
Yeah.
And speaking of communication, just want to do a quick communication. It appears that somebody has popped in. So, hi, welcome to the stream.
Wonderful.
Feel free to chat or say something.
Yeah. Feel free
go ahead.
to
So you were saying
that the show doesn't need to look like Ridley Scott made it, but I kind of long for it to. There's a part of me that does wish that they did turn on the haze machine and did shine some heavy lights through the window and do what that heavy backlight that the Scott was always known for. It still feels a little bit clean. So it doesn't. By the way, I don't want to get too caught up in chronology, but somebody has established what year this is and where it falls. We're not far off of Alien.
Right. It's a prequel to that. So it's
just barely like 2 or 3 years.
Oh, really? Okay.
So somebody made the point that not Yaphet Kotto, it said in the previous episode that he's been doing this for like 60 years or something. Like
this is his life's work.
Well, that puts him, I think, kind of where Prometheus was.
I wonder if that was intentional or if it's just. Oh, by the way, hi, welcome to the stream. Feel free to chat and say something here.
Pop yourself a cold one. I'm having a lovely Chianti. And not because I feel like I need to after the episode, because again, I want to say I like this one more than the others.
That's what we're just discussing. It's fairly strong in that we got some character work,
yes.
And I think that gives it the feeling of being a little meatier than the other ones.
For sure, because plot versus character versus plot versus character. I mean, story is partly plot, it's character. Like you can't.
It's the seamless weaving of the two together to elevate both aspects of that.
For sure, yeah. So I feel like we were heavy on plot, and I hate pilots. I hate pilots. I hate pilots. I hate pilots. They always have, not always, but 90% of the
co-pilots. I like those. They're working harder. They're trying to get in there.
The unsung heroes.
The unsung heroes.
Pilots always feel like they've been overworked, overnoted, and overthought to the point where it feels like a committee often made them, and very few things feel natural. So I feel like you can't even really judge a show until you're a few episodes in, because so many of them take a little massaging just to get into their groove. And this one's no exception. I feel like this is the first one where I felt like they at least were getting settled to some degree in where the show was and who the characters are and what those motivations are. Because in the first, I mean, they had to kind of. I mean, how many minutes did they spend recreating the movie Alien?
Oh, and
unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Before moving on to this show, it's almost like they felt like they had to say, let's do this so that people know that we're still a part of that world before we get into this.
Oh yeah, and thinking about that, so yeah, the episode 1 of this series, they basically had an Alien 1979 scenario unfold.
Yes.
So that means technically that was the first time it happened. So when we saw the movie Alien, that was at
Felt like
least
a
the
sequel.
second time
Yeah,
this had occurred in this universe.
yeah. Again,
Nah, screw you,
exactly. Look,
Alien Earth.
the more they do that, this is so true in so many. And I don't know if I don't want to rehash things points I made in the last one. It does feel like one of those situations where once the xenomorph is the xenomorph, it you have to have the xenomorph and everything.
Right.
And in the same way, you have to, what's Freddy Krueger is in the Nightmare on Elm Street. Now it's Freddy Krueger's the star, and you can't do anything without Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers or Friday the 13th Jason. Like they become their own institution, and then you can't do anything with it because, well, that's now it's an iconic trademarky kind of character.
Right.
What
So
do
you
you do with
can't,
it?
so you no longer be able to go into and just tell a story. You have to tell the story with this guy, and he's got to
Right.
do the things that everyone knows they
Everybody
like him
knows it.
for.
Yes, yeah, because it brings so much baggage with it. Is what I'm saying. It brings tropes and baggage, and you can't. Oh, just saying. Oh, do you want to read this from Michael Dobkin? I don't have my glasses on.
Yeah. It says, just saying howdy. Nothing to add to the discussion, but didn't want to leave you thinking I was silently judging the discussion. I'm just listening. Well, thank you, Mike. We appreciate you stopping by and
These are my child
actually
sunglasses.
silently judging us, despite what you say. I do.
Oh, you can auditorily judge us.
Yes, you can openly judge us. That's fine.
You can, yeah. I doubt you're going to do any worse than I do to myself.
Sure. And we're just sitting here openly judging Alien Earth. So
I judge Brian. He judges me.
and I see there's somebody else has popped in. Just if you're here, just in the chat, just give us a thumbs up or thumbs down if you saw the episode. Did you like it? Were you pro this episode?
You could do a thumb.
You could do a thumb, or
you could do a poop emoji.
Yes. If you could do one of these things, if you're really,
Oh.
Really you could use words too. We're fine with that. This is true.
Right. Well, we all used to be thinner, by the way, Mr. Judgy McJudgerson.
You should have seen me right out of the womb, man. You would not have recognized me.
His ideal weight, by the way, is 8 pounds 4 ounces.
Okay, yeah. See, Mike has not seen the show. That may or may not be to your benefit, depending on your opinion of these things.
You might be saving you 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sticking it out, but overall, I'm not.
Look, at the halfway point, I feel like if our lives were a story and this was a little subplot, we're at the point of no return.
Yes, we are. Well, yes, clearly for you and I, Phil.
Yes,
we are locked
in it to
all
win
the way
it.
into the end.
Yes,
and God forbid they pick it up for a second season.
That's what I'm afraid of. I was about to say, I don't know if I can take another season because, what are they going to do? They could surprise us. Has there ever been a second season of a show? Not Seinfeld. That doesn't count. That was a mid-season replacement.
All right, fair.
No. Has there been a second season of a show that surpassed the first two to the degree? Now, in streaming world, I think it's possible. Maybe you could say White Lotus or something like that. Maybe you like the second season more than the first, or maybe
Community.
Community. There's probably some examples, but I don't know. The only way I think they do get better is because you get to know the characters more, and you like the characters. And in this situation, I don't know. Are they gonna if there's a second season of this show? Are they bringing the Lost Boys? I don't see that happening. I see it maybe the lead, Wendy.
Well, yeah,
the brother.
Okay, well, this goes to the brother and sister arc. They're gonna drag that out. I can't imagine that they'll kill him, but I guess they could, because we're halfway through the first season, so maybe the plan is to sacrifice the brother by the end of the season.
I'm gonna that would be a mid-season shocker, you could say.
I'm gonna say he gets out of it, and they end up either the bald guy or the beta doc. I say one of those two is going to be the one who ends up. But I could also see they'll get the embryo in the brother, because we can drag that out for an episode or two.
Yeah,
and then maybe we can rescue him. But here now we're moving into the pressing X for doubt section, where here's where I just want to discuss the things of where this show is so detached from reality, it just drives me up a wall.
Yeah.
So for instance, perhaps yes, maybe they'll get the embryo in the boy, the brother, and then he will the chest burster will burst out of him, and then they'll just take him to the hospital
and put him
then
in
the
a new
next
body.
day he'll wake up and just be wandering around without having had any kind of debriefing or conversation with anybody. He's just showing up in the lab, talking to his sister, it's like, what is going on? He was injured. He got stabbed with the alien tail. They've gone.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was mortally wounded.
They went full Disney Star Wars, right? Giant lightsaber right through the torso. In this case, alien thing right through the torso. And then the next day, it's like, oh yeah, I got a scar here, and I'm walking around just doing stuff.
I wanted, for the younger viewers, I wanted John Cleese to come in to Eric Idle and say, "You shall not have been wounded in vain. You shall have died in vain." I think I'm going to pull through, sir. All right. Again, alien's not a threat in this show. It's not scary. It's not a threat.
No,
that's the problem with it being an alien show.
So
as a sci-fi show, I think it's got something to it.
It's got intriguing possibility as a sci-fi show. As an alien show, it's strange. They don't know what they're doing in that regard, because it's just a piece that they're using in this puzzle.
For sure.
But again, it's not just that the brother was mortally wounded and then the next day he's fine. There is that, though. That is just dumb.
Part of it.
But you could write that off and say, future medical tech, it's just, it's not a big deal, right? Hey, what do we know?
Yeah.
But he just shows up in the lab where they're rebooting these Lost Boys, these hybrids.
Yes.
These are
top
super
secret
expensive prototypes. I mean, this is like, you think Steve Jobs is in there with the iPhone and they're rebooting the very first one,
and somebody's brother just
walking into the lab. It's like, what?
Wozniak's brother. Oh, that's my brother. He's gonna come in, take a few pictures, and go back to Illinois. No, there's no. They don't establish that this is a real scenario in that sense.
There's no etiquette or protocol. There's just no protocol in this show.
Can I throw out a possibility here?
Okay, go ahead. I will settle down and you can jump on a possibility.
Settle back up again, because I want. What would it have been like had this been the son of the person in charge of Prodigy? So let's say Kid Cavalier.
Or Boy Cavalier, yes.
Boy Cavalier is not the head of the company. He's the son or grandson.
Yeah, of the bald guy. The bald guy's the head of the company, right?
Or somebody we don't see, because they're in a tower somewhere, like Tyrell in his pyramid. This is Boy Cavalier working his own part. He's been given a division to run. Because he doesn't feel like this doesn't feel like a guy that's running a $1 trillion company. This feels like a guy who's been given a project to work on under the umbrella of a much, much larger company run by his grandfather, great-grandfather, possibly a replicant who himself up there at the top. It feels also their problems seem to be localized, and I don't buy that this is the guy running. Does he have business meetings with other, like these corporations? There's 5 in the running the world
that are running the world,
and he seems
running the alien Earth.
He spends a lot of time in a lab on an island,
just dinking around, reading Peter Pan, and you almost wonder if we're going to find out at the end that none of this was real. Like, he's not really running a company. This isn't even him. He's having his own little. He's on that original ship that's being attacked by the alien, and this is a fever dream that he's having as he's dying after his heart's been ripped out.
I mean, that would be a shocker. It would be annoying, but
it would also make things make sense.
It would make way more sense.
It would fill in a lot of the gaps.
It would. Look again. It's like Monday morning Tuesday evening quarterbacking. That I'm not buying that this kid's running that big of a company, because we never see him doing company stuff.
No, and I imagine the bald guy who kind of comes off as a father figure that's a neutered father figure because the boy
Again,
is running everything.
another one.
And maybe he's like the business side guy of it. I mean, he does seem like he's more business, but again, all of this stuff
Yeah.
is written, it feels like it's written by somebody who doesn't understand how the world works, like that doesn't
Or even this,
understand.
yeah,
Like,
even
and
how this
I don't have
works.
a lot of understanding how the world works, but I understand it enough to know it's not like this.
Yeah,
Everything feels so isolated and detached from the larger world that it should theoretically be
for
part of.
sure, for sure.
It's not organic.
Well, we don't. I mean, isn't it? Yeah, organic. The show, as big as it is, it's still fairly small in some ways. We'd have a fairly large cast, but it's still contained. I feel like it's mostly contained. Whenever they have a large set piece, it still feels like a small set piece. When a large ship crashes into a city, it still feels like we're following 5 people around an empty situation,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to. So now some of that is just the logistics of making a sci-fi show on a budget with limitations.
Well,
Okay,
and imagine, and clearly it's budget is a factor of this, but imagine like the Avengers. Okay,
yeah,
that's 5 people.
sure,
So when they're saving New York, you
yeah,
don't feel like it's just them in a room or on a street and then it's like them talking about stuff. Like it feels
sure.
like they're in the city and it feels
Mhm.
like there's a sky and there's an alien and this is all part of a larger state in a world. It's
Yes,
just and in this it just is so just insulated.
it's
It's
insulated, it's
suffocating.
separate. It's separate from. I mean,
And then even within its insulated reality, it just like, for example, Kirsch, Timothy Oliphant, he's the scientist synthetic, I guess.
mhm.
And it's like we cut to him, oh, and he's in there and he's watching, observing this thing. There's no sense of scientific method. There's no sense of what's the goal, what are you trying to do.
Right.
It's just like he's watching stuff. Later he goes and he's looking at the eggs and he touches it and he gets the goo. It's like, why are you in there? Why are you touching it? What are you trying to accomplish? Like what's and this ties back to the hybrids themselves.
Mhm.
You put the consciousness or souls, I mean, that nobody knows because they don't really talk about it. This episode they finally got into that conversation a little bit,
Yes,
gratefully.
sure.
But you put these kids into these synthetic bodies,
Mhm.
but you never had a real conversation with them about what the bodies are. I mean, like that's what she says in this episode. Oh yeah, we really didn't get a chance to talk about this stuff.
Didn't get a chance.
It's
Like
like
this, how long of a how
it would
much
have
of
been
a
the whole.
ramp up time was there on this project?
I mean, I went in. I had I had the ticker fixed, right? Went in for the heart attack. Yeah, you know what's going on. The whole
Yeah,
point of being there is the whole conversation of what's going to happen.
for sure.
You're telling me that this didn't happen with these kids, and then they put them, but then what are they doing? There's a reference in this episode when Beta Doc is talking to his wife
Mhm.
and saying how this isn't the scientific method. And I'm like, okay, well, thank God there's a character who's acknowledging what I'm seeing here.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not enough for that character to just say that because
It
it's like
doesn't absolve them from the sin of
it
not
doesn't
actually
involve
dealing with
the
the.
sin. He says, oh, well, we stopped beta testing, halfway through so we could send the kids to, into search and rescue. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Does that
And
sound
she
like a?
tries to explain it away. And it's like a scene that the writer wrote to try to explain away
Mhm.
how insipid the logic is previously into the stuff. Like he'd been getting notes, and so he's like, well, I'm just gonna have my characters explain it to you so you can understand that this all makes sense.
Or not even that good. They're gonna explain what the issues are as if like they're. I, it's a situation we've seen in many a script that has sometimes worked, where if there's something wonky, if a character does voice that it's wonky, somehow it kind of like it relieves the tension on the wonkiness.
Right.
It's like hey, why are we walking into this haunted house without really knowing what to, so, well, okay, I guess we're okay because at least one character knows that this is wonky.
Right. They made a joke about it. So you're like, okay, we can move
We
along.
can move along. In this, it's harder to do that when you have a long series where you have too much time to think about how wonky it is.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
one scientist voices this like after the fact.
right. I mean, 4 episodes in, I mean, what have you been doing with these hybrids? I mean, wouldn't
What
it
are they
not be
doing?
a regiment of tests and
Tests,
analysis and
analysis.
trying to establish, like, did this work? How's it doing? Da, da, da. Instead, they just treat them like they are kids that just happen to be wandering around the lab and occasionally go, oh, yeah, blah, blah, and they explain something to them and they move on. And then like, oh, wow, this hybrid is, starting to do this. Well, isn't that interesting? Yeah. Nobody takes out a freaking notebook and makes a note of it. They're just like, wow, that's crazy. They're talking about that kind of stuff. Oh, let's talk to them a little bit more.
They almost do with Dame Sylvia having a therapy session with not Lambert,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in and of itself one of the better scenes in this episode because
Agreed.
it did as a scene as far as scene work
As a
goes.
scene, yes.
Yes, but it does make me think like, well, usually in a situation like this, you would establish what the baseline normality is, normalcy, before you give us what's going on crazy. So,
Right.
okay, they're back from their search and rescue mission, which was stupid anyway.
Yeah.
But you'd think they're like, well, okay, we're back to our normal regiment, which is we're sending the kids to do A, B, and C, and we're gonna see how they react, and we're gonna take notes, and we're gonna do all that stuff. We're not. We're not doing any of that crap. They're just there. They're just there.
I was
And
trying to
there's
get you big, and then the thing. Everybody always, sorry for the distraction. Yeah, no, it's just they're there. You go like, oh, okay. I mean,
what are they
would they
supposed to be
not?
doing? What were they supposed to be doing?
What are
They
they supposed to be? You would
billions
think,
of dollars on this project, and it just seems more like it's Boy Cavalier. Just, well, I don't know what happens if we put 12-year-olds in
well, let's try to, yeah,
and I want to read them a story. My favorite story. It's called.
and I'm making them because, yeah. What is his favorite story? Do we have any idea? Is there any indication of what
I would have
Roy
said Wizard
Cavalier's
of
favorite story
Oz,
is?
or possibly no. They hammer it again, but once again, at some point, I think they're watching Ice Age again in this episode.
Yeah, yes, they were.
God damn it! You'd think that they hadn't made a movie. By the way, between now and when this movie takes place, I bet there's at least 6 more versions of Peter Pan that they could be watching. But then
he'll be excited to be referencing all the different versions of Peter Pan that occurred.
let's watch Peter Pan. Which version? The 1953? The 1999?
I like that. Oh, hey, hang on. We got
47?
Hey, reptilian politician. Hey, gang, just put on the episode. All right.
Well, let's tell you how it ends.
Put on the episode. I don't know if we can do that, but thank you for stopping by and listening to us talk about the episode.
Again, I want to say my favorite so far, but I doubt that's true for a lot of people who are tuning in for an alien show.
Yeah.
For if they're hoping to get
yeah.
They're gonna get snoozy eyes. But I don't know if it's just my personal taste and how things are paced.
Yeah.
I will say that I didn't have as many things to say about. No, you wouldn't believe it because of our rant right now. But I mostly enjoyed the general pace of it, and I think that they do. They've done a great job of establishing the one character that has the strongest motivation and who's manipulating one of our Lost Boys. Like, that thread is the most compelling, seemingly the most compelling at the moment.
And I do find myself very engaged because it is tense every time. Because anytime you're basically watching a predator speak to a child.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a child predator sort of situation. Because it is a somebody of malintent who's manipulating the innocence and naivete of a child. And so that's just uncomfortable to watch, even though the child is an adult.
Yeah, and that's another aspect that they've kind of barely touched on. Now, when they do say that, my God, I can't.
Just start
Nib,
describing them and I'll say the name.
Nibs, or Ginger.
Oh yeah, Nibs. Nibs the ginger
So
Nibs.
she's the only character so far that has even touched on anything tangential to sexuality as far as being in an adult body.
And being in an alien thing.
Right, which is fraught with imagery of
Yeah.
various, yes,
But yeah, you're right. She's the first person who's sort of addressed the fact that I am now in an adult body.
and in an interesting way, and it, the whole show is kind of avoided even the dance around that until now, and now they're just barely starting to do a two-step around that scenario. Which again, if this had just been a sci-fi show about putting young minds into adult bodies, that would have been one of the main threads.
Okay. Now, hearing you say that, okay,
It's a better show. I'm describing a show. I'd rather watch something with more. That's an existential sci-fi kind of concept.
they do not have the chops to tackle the concepts that they're introducing into the series.
And I
I
wouldn't
think
either,
that's
by the way.
really the issue. And like just what you were saying there, child in an adult's body, leave the synth angle out. Just a child suddenly having to deal with being an adult's body. Well, there's
Yeah,
big, but that's different.
big.
We're talking about more of a, an existential.
Less of a Tom Hanks comedy
Yeah.
and
Like
more of an
that in and of
existential
itself.
mind
I'm
scream.
sorry, did I step on a punchline?
No, no, no. You stepped on a nothing, so feel free to step again.
Move along, move along. That in and of itself has plenty of ideas to
mine.
depth to plumb.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But then you add into it the fact that it's a synthetic body. So then there's the questions of the soul and consciousness, and what are these things?
They're
All of that
barely
is
poking at it. They're barely poking at it, but it's too big of an issue to probably tackle because they got to remember that they're in an alien show. Which at some point you realize this didn't need to be an alien show at all. It could have been an interesting sci-fi show about anything other than all this other crap that's happening. That's making it an alien slash horror. I mean, this is considered a TV MA, I assume.
Yeah.
Mature. It didn't have to be. It could have been in a different way, but the horror stuff you could have dropped most of all of that, and just had it be a more, well, it could have been a completely different show. It's pointless for me to even critique another show that it
Right.
isn't. But
I also I can't stop chewing on the bone of the fact that they've done nothing with the scientific aspect of even product. Just think of it as a product. You've just made this new product.
yeah,
How are you product testing? What are you doing for this stuff? If somebody gets a bionic arm or a leg or goes through surgery, like there's rehab and there's like learning to deal
walk.
with this.
Yes.
They're not addressing any of that until this episode where it's like, oh, I haven't talked to you in a while. Why don't you come in? You're acting a little psycho. Wow, she's totally crazy. Okay, but that's the kind of stuff that they should have been addressing all along. Okay, we've now put them in these bodies. And they should talk about it and give us the expectation. Like you said earlier, set the baseline.
Did we ever get a scene, by the way, of any of
These are the things they'll be struggling with emotionally, mentally. These are the things we've got to worry about. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So did we ever get a scene?
I'm just wondering, like, did they ever get a scene of a character, one of our Lost Boys, going into the bathroom, turning on the light, looking at themselves in the mirror, and being shocked for a minute? Just looking at themselves and being like, doing this thing.
Right. I feel like
I have to shave now, or what?
They had to have done that with Wendy. They had to have done that with her in the first episode.
Yeah, maybe
not in the bathroom, but maybe when she was in the building and she sees herself in the mirror. Maybe then. No, but that's the brother after.
I don't know. Like they could have spent a long time with the brother dealing with he had a sister. I feel like they're kind of they're doing the peripheral thing without actually getting into how you think you would actually act. If Brian, You don't have a younger sister. I don't either.
No, I have an older
But
sister.
we
You have
can
an older
pretend
sister.
we have older sisters.
Okay, but to your
What
point,
if we found out that our younger sister, who was terminal, that we thought was, I think we thought they were dead, right?
mm-hmm.
They're now in the body of an adult person who's possibly even older than we, or our same age, or whatever. That would be such a freak out. And they did that kind of in the middle of a search and rescue situation
They did it
where
in a hallway.
they did it in a
They
hallway where
entered the hallway, and by the time they got out of the hallway, they were done
they were okay with
exploring
it.
any of that, whatever they're.
Yes. Yeah, I guess you're my sister. You remembered a couple of things that I tested you, and you
Mhm.
knew the lyrics to that song we used to, or whatever they did. Um, it 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 doesn't want to deal with the implications of what it's established.
No, it doesn't. I feel, and I don't feel at this point like it really has a specific thing that it wants to say.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's a guiding mm, thesis that's being fleshed out here. I think they've got
No.
all these different elements that are interesting and all
Yes.
these different elements that have potential,
Right.
and they don't really know how they're all supposed to fit together. And so they're just kind of jumping around and picking up the different toys of the show and playing with them from episodes. Hey, and then moving on to the next thing. And there's some guidance that you can see every now and again where you go, oh, okay, this is what they're doing here. Usually it becomes clear when a character starts literally telling you which characters in Peter Pan that the other characters are here on the island known as Neverland. So but I
Watching
don't
Ice
really
Age.
know that it has a real clean, clear idea. I
No.
think it's got a bunch of stuff going on, and it's playing with that stuff to fill the space of 8 episodes.
Can I?
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine the build up to making a show like this. I think we've seen it before, where sometimes when you watch a movie and you are enjoying what's happening in the movie before it becomes what the movie actually is really about, and
Okay,
then
yeah.
it's a bit of it. And I'll give you an example:
All
The
right.
Descent. The Descent is a great horror
Oh,
film
yeah.
where a group of women go spelunking, which is a kind of a cave exploration, and
Adventure.
and this film starts with a woman who's lost a husband, and she goes on this trip with other women to do a spelunking trip, and
Mhm.
there's this spelunking part is so well done and so tension filled and so viscerally effective that by the time it becomes a monster movie, it's kind of a disappointment. They did, but they started out with a movie that were like, okay, these characters are going to go into a cave and find out there's monsters in there.
Mhm.
Like, all right, let's make that movie. Well, what they made was a better movie before the monster shit stuff started happening, and it ends up being okay. Another example: the first act of. I'm going to pretend like my feed is stopped.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you, and I'm going to say, and
Jeepers Creepers.
that was very convincing.
It
See,
was Jeep.
I like both of those horror movies.
Okay, no,
I
I do
like
too.
the
I
Descent
do
and
too.
Jeepers
Ultimately,
Creepers. But go
I
ahead.
give them both thumbs up, but
Yeah,
Jeepers
yeah.
Creepers has the best for opening act of almost any horror film. Extremely, it's mysterious, intriguing, and scary, and we establish characters we like pretty quickly. I think as soon as it becomes what it becomes, it's a bit of a letdown to some
Mhm.
degree. Like it sort of drops down into okay, now we're into this movie.
Okay,
Whereas
but see,
the
go ahead.
promise was we're into oh my god, what is going to happen? And then monster. And I think those are both examples of films where the the original premise was what it was, but they made such a good movie getting to there that they didn't realize until it was too late that they were making a better movie than they made.
Okay, and so that would apply to Alien Earth in that the name of the series and what it
Yes.
evokes was
Yes.
really great. And then when you got there, you're like, oh, and then this is what they made. Is that where you're going with that?
I think that what they could have made was a better movie about a better show about uh, moving your consciousness into a synth body and what the implications are about that.
Agreed. Now, and here's the other thing too, because it Game of Thrones. Okay.
Mhm.
Game of Thrones, it's about the power dynamics of these different territories, and
Yes.
everyone's trying to vie for power.
Yes.
Are you telling me that the Five and Alien Earth don't have some of this stuff going on? I mean, all that we see of it is just that, Utani called, hey, I want my stuff back. Yeah, too bad. You said your lawyers. And like, that's it. In fact, in this episode, we got a refresh on the concept of the Five.
And a one that was baffling, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense that our brother character, who is explaining it to our Lost Boys, basically says, well, we used to have governments. It didn't work. Right. So now we have corporations. Okay, I'm sorry, that doesn't fly at all. This takes place like 100 years from now. I don't buy that. I mean, he could have said, even it would have probably satiated my rage if he had just said, we used to look, there are governments, they just have a lot less power. These corporations basically run the show, and the countries, they still exist, but they're nowhere near.
But it's really the Five that are.
It's really the Five that are pulling the machinations. They're the hairy hidden hand working the machinations behind this, but not behind the scenes. They're up front, and that's established. But to act like somehow world governments all collapsed under the weight of 5 companies, and right now they're not going to war over this. Like they're not parking battleships outside of Neverland.
Right. Saying, where's our stuff? Well,
there should be a Captain Hook. There should be a Captain Hook probably running one of those ships, by the way, it's parked up.
Well, I think Captain Hook is Morrow, because he's got like the hand that can become different tools.
Oh, interesting. Okay, you know what? You picked up on that a lot sooner than I did, but that makes a lot of sense, because Captain Hook is able to pick up, and then he plays piano with the one, and then he's got.
I didn't notice that one on my side. I noticed all the other stuff because they were so obvious about it, but I saw somebody talk about that.
Oh, somebody else. Are you giving credit?
Yeah, an uncredited idea has passed through my lips.
You're an officer and a gentleman for admitting that wasn't your own. By the way, it wasn't. I didn't figure out what the timeline wise that the whole thing about Weyland-Yutani and Prometheus, and where the not Yaphet Kotto fits within that.
Oh, you looked that up?
No, somebody else on some other channel that you should never ever watch, because this is the only one to watch.
This is the only one. Well, we know that there are other channels and that you'd prefer to watch sometimes, and sometimes they just don't have new content, or you can't get through, and so we appreciate you coming over here.
Absolutely. Is there anybody still on?
With the Five, okay.
Yes.
You have the brother talking to these ignorant children synths.
Yes.
Wow. What a dynamic scene. The explanation. I felt like I was living it. Like the world came alive. Yeah. How about it would have been more interesting if we could cut to other people? Like, we've seen Yutani once, so like, let's see, what are they doing? Who are they calling? What are we talking? What are the larger political power machinations that are going on because this ship crashed here and he's not letting go? Like, how does that connect into the rest of the world?
This is
one phone call. I mean, why even have the Five?
Why? Yeah.
Why does that even exist? Because you're not doing anything with it.
Not doing anything with it. One can only assume that they just went ahead and toss those cards on the table, assuming they'd be in play later on in this show or the next season or whatever.
Why don't you just make this a Dr. Moreau Island planet? It's just like some Star Trek episode where it's some crazy guy who runs the planet. It's just all on this island.
He doesn't have to run the planet. He could just be a crazy guy on an island who,
like John Hammond from a Jurassic Park.
Yeah. No, there was a By the way, I did think of there was oh.
Yeah.
About a third of the way into this, I imagined it was Jeff Goldblum going, by the way, are there going to be any aliens on your alien show?
Yeah, sometimes you wonder.
the 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 5 companies that run it. So far, we only know about 2. They've named the others, but we don't know that they have any trash.
Now, I'm assuming that our friend Texas Tourist, thank you for returning, Texas Tourist. I
He
assume
watched
when you
the
say trash,
episode.
you're not referring to your friends here at the humble EIM editorial offices.
Your close personal friend, your new best friends.
That's
by the
right.
way.
I assume you're meaning the show, which is why you were also saying it needs predators.
Needs predators. Well, it does. By the way, interesting point. Does this world exist in the same world that the predators exist? Now, I'm not even talking about like there's a lot of canon this, canon that.
Mhm.
Like, do they? Whatever. It gets a little bit inside baseball to get into whether or not.
I'm thinking this is the planet that becomes the training planet for the predators. Once the aliens, they take over Earth and it's all overrun, and then in the last episode we reveal, da da da, here comes the predator ship. Time to train, boys.
Well, you know what, Predator series might be at least. I could maybe imagine a Predator series being more effective than this show in some ways.
Yeah, I could see that,
because you'd be able to establish very quickly what the motivations are without having, and you could still have existential threat to our civilization.
Sure.
Or whatever. No, yeah, there's a cat here who's making an possible appearance.
Cats happen.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Phil, it appears your feed is freezing again.
It's not so much that as much as my daughter's crying.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We've been going long. We're at like an hour and a half here.
Well, I think we've probably maybe said about as much as we need to say, at least as I can't think of anything else. Romulus is still the worst.
All right, well, you know what? I'll bid you adieu.
Segue into you have a Romulus.
There you go. That's right. Well, it's funny you should say that, Texas Taurus, because you may have heard that the Romulus review will be dropping next at EIM by this weekend. So be sure to check your feeds and let me know what you think of my Romulus review.
I've got a Predator right here.
It has 2 cause Utani, does it? Yeah. So there's that. Hey, Phil, Magic Phil, thank you for stopping by. I look forward to discussing this next week with you.
Absolutely. I look forward to discussing the next episode. I'm sure it'll be great.
All right. See you later, man.
Gotta go.
All right. Hey, so that was that. Jonesy Cat. Yes, we're trying to keep things very alien centric. We like to have cats on our alien podcast. So you let's see. Likewise, thanks a lot, man. So you are apparently still watching the show, and you are also still not thrilled with what it's doing. Is that the vibe that I'm getting here? We will see. We will see how it develops and plays out in these next 4 episodes. Again, I'm a little, I'm very disappointed. I think that it does have some intriguing things at times, but I think I made my feelings clear in this podcast tonight, that it just feels like they're just juggling a lot of stuff that they don't have a real strong idea on what to do with it. I think it feels like they've got all these elements that they can make their show out of, and so they're just playing around with the different elements as they go. I don't feel like it's got a really strong vision or plan of what's going to happen. Well, obviously, we're getting to the whole thing of who's going to get the face hugger, when are we going to get an alien out, when's it going to be on Earth, and then how's it going to spread out and become a problem. That's ultimately what their overall arc is. But the way they're getting there, I just feel like they don't. It could be better. It could be better. Let's see. So you liked 1 and 2? Yes. Okay. 1 and 2 were terrible. 3, was it better though? I mean, it was Well, it was better in that, Phil and I were talking about this last time. It was better in that it wasn't stuck in the plot of what they did in the first 2 episodes. They got out of the ship, they got out of the building, and they got back to the lab. So that was a relief. And then 4 was okay, but meh. Yeah, see, but the strength of this episode, as we were saying, I don't know if you were here earlier, it's just, at least they took time to actually develop the characters. They actually spent some time with different characters and doing something with them. Not a lot, not with all the characters, and some of the stuff they did was dumb, but at least it had that going for it. Yeah, I'm with you, Texas Taurus. I think the brother's going to get it. They're certainly lining it up to be that the brother's the one that's going to get served up. But I still have a hard time believing they're going to sacrifice him, because they're really making the show about the relationship between him and his sister. I don't know if they're going to have the guts to rip his out. Let's see, what we got, another thing here. Oh, yes, that was back in episode 1, having the British people dressed up. I don't know, it was like the French Revolution or something. I think they were trying to make some sort of political statement, because you had the aristocrats, and here they're living a life of decadence, not realizing that their world was about to be pulled out from under them. He answers the door saying, "Oh, it's a feast." And then when the alien breaks in, they become the feast. Eat the rich. I think that's what they were doing. But again, even if they wanted to make an anti-capitalism show or an eat the rich show, this was not it. They've just say, "Oh, along the way, let's go ahead and throw out a little comment grenade or a little a goofy thing." It's not all part of a larger weave that's coming together here. Yeah, it is what it is, and that's streaming content from Disney Plus. Well, I guess it's over on Hulu, so, but we know who's running the show. We know who's writing those checks. All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. We'll see you next week for the next one. Until then, be sure to stop by the channel. Once again, I got my Romulus review dropping this weekend, so look for that. Appreciate it.